Welcome back. I'm talking to Nina Sampat from Staples Canada. And I must be honest with you, I love the easy button. And what I love about it, and the fact that the way you talk about, you initially talked off the top of this discussion about being a solutions provider as opposed to we provide products and services, is that both of those things seem to communicate to me from the outside that the customer is central to a lot of the decision making that goes on in the organization. Am I right? Am I wrong? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that making it easy is a key component of our brand. But I really like to speak to really what we've tried to build around our selling culture, and really that's how we connect with our customers. And we really talk about it in a way of inspired selling. Okay. And what that means is, really the principles around inspired selling is connecting with our customers, really getting to understand their needs, being able to identify other opportunities that would help their business or solve their problems. And
sort
really,
of like, would you like fries with that?
Well,
or is it a little different than that?
Oh, I think it is a little different than that, because what we really strive for is really understanding what the customer is intending to use the product or service that they're coming into our stores for. So rather than
just an upsell, it's a value-added sell of how do you get more performance out of the things that you're already...
Yeah, or really it's really being, we look at it as being a trusted advisor. We want to be that advisor to that customer to recommend the right things that they need for for their business or their home when they're coming into our stores. So a good example, rather than it being an upsell of fries, would be, someone comes in for a wireless printer. An easy add-on would be, getting ink. But really, the way I think about it is understanding, what are you using that printer for?
Right.
And do you, if it's going to be wireless, are you comfortable, having this installed within your office? Do you need services to be able to make that happen? So I think it goes beyond that. Those
or is
obvious.
It even the right printer for your needs?
Yeah. So I think we really strive to not only provide that solution for that day, that opportunity, but also build a relationship with them, so we really understand what they're about, so that they're hopefully as an opportunity for us to really connect with them, that we can be a partner with them even moving forward.
Now, some would suggest that that takes too long, like that, I got to spend all this time, why don't I just give them the printer, take the money and let them go? What's your view on that? Why don't you just give them what they want?
Well, I think that people are looking for that expertise when they're coming into our stores. I think this day and age, if you just wanted to buy a printer, you could probably easily do that online. But I think when people are coming into our stores, they're looking for knowledgeable associates that can help them out, whether identifying what printer is right for them, or what other solutions they need for their business or for their their needs. So I think the experience is definitely different. I think people are looking for that experience when they're coming into our stores, and that's what we strive to deliver on. I think if we just turned around and handed somebody a printer, eventually they would catch on and they would realize it's no different than me just buying something online. So I think it really makes
well,
a
and I think that touches on an important point, is the language of business today has changed from customer service to customer experience. And I think more and more organizations are recognizing that, the products or services we have today can be easily duplicated, but what can't be duplicated is the culture and the experience that we create. So I want to kind of circle back. We started off talking about values, and I know that this is a somewhat new initiative within Staples. Not new that you had values; they're just a refreshment of your existing values. What kind of a process do you envision going through to roll these values out through the organization to make sure everybody is, number one, understanding what they are, and number two, that you solicit and engender buy-in to them?
So part of the process, like I said, would be really starting from our senior leadership to be able to kind of speak to those opportunities. We want to be able to ensure that every associate in our organization understands what not only these values are, but what the behaviors need to look like to support those values. We want to continue to recognize when those values are happening or not. We're going to be incorporating them into our competencies, because our values, again, speak to a number of competencies that we feel as an organization are important. I think there's going to be ongoing dialogue around when these values are being experienced. I think people are going to want to make sure that that's being recognized. I think it's a number of ways. I think that, the value for people to know is really, it's not a one-day thing. We don't have today's going to be our introduction to values, and we don't talk about it tomorrow. It's really about something that it's going to be ongoing and talked about every day in the work we do, and hopefully, it becomes entrenched into the regular day-to-day dialogue that we're having easily, rather than feeling like we just need to know the values. We're really just living them.
Well, I think that's really critical with organizations, and if people who are watching and are wondering about how do I bring the values to life in my organization, I think the key thing is they're not something you put up on a wall, and because frankly, I'm sure Enron had values. I'm sure Bernie Madoff's companies had values, and clearly they weren't being lived in the organization. They have to be lived on a daily basis, and you talked about embedding them into all of the different things. Any thoughts on how, advice you'd offer in terms of if someone is rolling out, they've gone through the process of developing the values and they've gotten the input, how do you kick that off? Is there a way to kick it off, before you start to do all the embedding things?
Oh, I mean, some of the things that we have done is we've, had some of our key leadership speak to those values personally. So there's a video that we've created to try to really connect with our associates so that they understand that not only, what is the individual leadership's perspective on these new values, but making it a bit more personal. We're also going to be introducing, these value cards that I talked about. So I think that's another way to keep it alive and keep people engaged, especially when you're launching a new set of values like we are, where we want people to connect and kind of stand up and pay attention and recognize that this is something that we want to evolve.
So was there anything that specifically led you to believe that you wanted to refresh the values? Was it feedback from the customer that was saying that the market is changing, or was it a reflection of the employees, the frontline people who were, seeing things differently? Like, what drove that?
I think it's all of that. I think it started with our customers. Definitely our customers are changing, and their needs are changing. So we need to change as an organization. Our associates are changing. I think it's important to our associates has changed and evolved. So I think it's a combination of those two things that really drove this desire to feel that this is the right thing to do, and really involving what our values look like today.
What kinds of programs do you have to really get customer input at this point? I know that when I go to the store and purchase something, there's a little plug for me personally. I think that you have something on your receipts where you can go online.
Yep. Yeah.
How successful is that, and what other kinds of programs are you using?
So we have the customer survey that we do in our stores, and that gives us a good understanding of whether we're meeting the exceeding the expectations of our customers. So we really strive towards extremely satisfying our customers. So there's a number of questions that we ask to really understand what we're doing right, where we're maybe shortfalling on our experience with the customer, what things we could be doing better. And we've been doing that for a number of years.
And that's the one that's on the receipt that you go to a website and you have the opportunity to win something as part of a monthly draw or something.
Yeah, okay. I think it's pretty common. A lot of retailers have gone that way, and it's effective. I think it does give you an idea of what the feeling is of your customers. But I think it's also equally important to really listen to our customers day in and day out. And I mentioned earlier, a lot of the feedback and ideas that we get through the various avenues that our associates can connect to, the people that can make those necessary changes or put those initiatives in place to support what our customers are telling us. So I think, there's nothing like hearing it from the frontline associates who are hearing that feedback day in and day out and what we can be doing. So we take that feedback and implement ideas and initiatives based on that real real-time information we're getting.
Now, do you folks put together a scoreboard of any sort that sort of, you know, tracks key customer metrics that you're able to share some of the elements of?
So the customer survey that we do, we do track it. So we track it as a corporate measurement, but then we also break it down to the individual stores.
So you're able to compare different stores in terms of how they're ranking? Markets,
districts, so that we really understand kind of what is the pulse of our customer experience in our stores. I think that in itself is something that we feel is important for us to continue to strive for. As a company, we've reached a record high of 80%. So I think to us, is that high enough? No, I mean, I think there's always opportunity for us to continue to improve, we're continuing to do what we can to improve on that, even that number.
You find that the customer is more difficult now than it was? And I ask you that because the choices are so much more diverse. I mean, you can buy a printer online, you can buy it at Staples and any number of other places. But the thing that I'm finding is that the service expectation of customers has risen, because I'm not just comparing Staples against maybe your competition, I'm comparing it against every service establishment I walk through the door and saying, how do they compare versus someone else? How is that being reflected in terms of the sort of the readings you're taking or the measures you're taking? Are you seeing that?
I definitely agree that the expectations of our customers is ever evolving. I think that our customers continue to expect more, but granted, I think to your point earlier, I think that's reality. I think the choices out there, the competition out there, they have the ability to want to pick and choose and expect that high level of service. So I think that as a retailer, we do what we can to ensure that we're leading edge, or we're kind of leading in the industry as far as trying to deliver on that service experience.
Trying to make it easy, and we appreciate it. Well, that's all the time we have today. So first of all, I want to thank you very much for joining me and sharing some of your insights and experiences so freely with us today. And hopefully the folks that have been watching will have taken away a couple little tidbits that they can use as well. For more on learning about this kind of thing, we look forward to having you maybe back another time. But for folks, for more on the show and to share your feedback, go to rogerstv.com. You can also connect with me online at billhogg.ca, where you'll find lots of information and articles on building a high-performance work environment, or to simply ask a question. Thanks for joining us. Our goal is to inspire leaders like you to accelerate performance. Best wishes for your continuous improvement. Thanks so much.